Invisibility, flying, and taking shots all the way from Narnia are for coward DPS players. If you want a real in-your-face duelist who will finally make that terminally online Manosphere podcaster approve of your life choices, the only option you need is Winter Soldier. Damage? Check. CC? Check. Infinite chain ult? Check, 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 check. Escape? You don't need it. Now, if you haven't played Winter Soldier before, here's a quick rundown on his kit. His main weapon, standard left click, is going to be a 3-shot pistol. Feels pretty similar to a deagle in other games. They say it's explosive, but to be honest, the blast range is pretty small, and it's not something that you'll probably ever consider in the middle of a fight. I mostly forget it's even a thing, but it does exist. It does exist, so there it is. His right click is his bionic hook that, like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, will drag any enemy hit back towards you. You'll hold right click to charge it, and a max charge has a range of about 20 meters, but an instacast is closer to 10 meters, and this ability will grab multiple enemies if they're bunched up enough. His E is Tainted Voltage, a Kamehameha-like blast that will do some damage, but more importantly goes through multiple enemies, slowing them, and it can even knock down flying heroes. The damage itself is not amazing, but I have gotten a number of last hits with it, and it does pair well with the rest of the kit, as we'll see later on. Left shift is Trooper's Fist, which is a dash that will knock up any and all enemies that it hits at the end of the dash. This can go any direction. It's not locked to the floor like a charge would be, so it can be an okay escape option as well as its main use as another interruption. Finally, his ultimate is Kraken Impact, where after a brief moment of float up, Bucky will target an area to slam down, dealing damage, but more importantly, will mark any enemy hit with a health threshold. If the enemy loses enough HP to go into that threshold, they will be instantly executed. It's almost like negative temporary health. If that wasn't good enough, any kill on a marked enemy will refresh Kraken Impact for another cast within an 8-second window, where afterwards it will finally go on cooldown. This ability can refresh an infinite number of times. So as long as your opponents keep walking into you one by one, you can build up insane ult chains. The mark only lasts for a short amount of time though, so you and your team need to be able to capitalize while the mark is active for the ult to really give value. But as we'll see later, the combos that this hero has in their kit makes any 1v1 with this ultimate virtually unlosable. If your ult is available and you do see this mark above an enemy's health bar, it means that Kraken Impact will instantly kill them, which, yes, will give you an automatic refresh of that ult. Go ahead and insert your own joke about DJ Khaled here. I'm not going to waste any editing hours on that myself. I have much more important things to do than reference a 10-year-old meme. Now, that kit is cool and all already, but the most important thing to know about Winter Soldier is while his roster stern pistol only holds 3 bullets, and he needs a minimum of 2 shots to get a kill on even the smallest full HP bar, every ability will reload that magazine. The most standard chain you'll be using is 3 shots, Tainted Voltage, 3 more shots. However, in more close range fights, being able to reset his magazine while controlling enemy positions is key to winning 1v1s. And so combos with Bionic Hook and Trooper's Fist is what Winter Soldier players do to really maximize his damage output. This passive ability also grants temporary bonus HP on reload, so that increases the survivability even further. Now, the final note on his kit is his team-up ability with Rocket Raccoon. Same as the Punisher, Rocket has an ammo overload device that when dropped down will give Winter Soldier faster fire rate and, more importantly, infinite magazine in his pistol. So no more worries about chaining abilities between burst fires. You just gotta hold left click and track your enemies like they're blue orbs in an aim trainer. Now that we know the kit, the real question is, how is Winter Soldier's damage output really? Well, I am happy to say it is amazing if you can routinely hit headshots. And whereas heroes like Hawkeye can one-shot from range, and Hela and Star-Lord have hit-scan weapons, Bucky's roster stern has both a noticeable bullet travel time and damage fall-off at extended ranges. Because of this, his best position is in the middle of the pack, just behind the tanky frontliners, where he can get the best value out of his damage range and avoiding the issue of needing to lead his shots too much. However, being this far forward does leave Bucky more vulnerable to being focused by divers, and with his low health pool and mobility, he can get 100 to 0'd pretty quickly. But that's where his disruption abilities really come into play. While they're not stuns necessarily, both his hook and fist will interrupt enemy combos and help you set your crosshair position back on their head. Considering how they both reload his gun's magazine, you can see how strong of a fighter he can be in this position. Trooper's Fist is pretty fast, and while a fully charged hook may go further, at melee range, an instacast is almost impossible to dodge, and I've found a lot of success locking down diving Iron Fists and the like with it, even if it's just for the brief second needed to line up the final headshot. Ability chains like this is why Winter Soldier should almost be considered a melee hero. I mean, he's not, clearly. He has a pistol, he deals damage at range, and you do want to kite the enemy as much as possible, but if you go too far away, your impact is severely reduced, and he's not powerless when the enemy is so close you can smell the sweat built up in that spandex. You almost want to tease enemy divers into overcommitting onto you, where you'll counter back with any or all of these combo chains. Baiting said divers into your own team makes the surprise turnaround even better. Looking past the damage output and ability to 1v1, remember that both the hook and the fist will hit multiple enemies. So even as a duelist, Winter Soldier has a fair bit in his kit to control the battlefield alongside his tanks and supports, and limit the freedom enemy heroes, especially divers, will have. The real limitations, as I said before, is the bullet travel time and, more importantly, the damage fall off at range. We still need to see where the top-ranked competitive meta goes, and of course map and game mode obviously have an effect on best team comps, but on average, the best place for Bucky in a team is what I like to call secondary DPS. You still want a primary DPS hero like Hawkeye or Psylocke to have their space to play with, but Bucky is there to be enough of a nuisance and threat to keep the enemy team from being free to focus 100% on removing the primary. This mix of damage and disruption is where Winter Soldier truly shines. I don't know if my editor has any extra clips of me doing something cool or not, but that's the end of this video. Like, subscribe, all that same call to action you've heard way too many times before. I'll be putting out more videos on Marvel Rivals and other gaming and esports topics, so I hope to see you all in the next video.